Hey, what's up everyone? We are finally back to do some more breakdowns for Street Fighter 6. Capcom has just officially, wink wink, released some developer matches up on their YouTube, showing off the most recent new characters again, and this time, mirror. The matches are like the opposite in quality. The players are a lot better. These are actually those legendary internal testers we saw from before with those GameSpot videos. So we're learning a lot of information here. There's a lot to go over. It looks like Capcom's going to release these videos slowly. So we'll break these down one by one as they get uploaded here. We're going to do one character at a time because there's a lot of information to talk about. So let's start with Marisa. I'm really excited to talk about Marisa. And let's go through this footage in the order it's played. So right at the start of the match, we see Marisa unleash these deadly standing heavy punches. And the Marisa player uses this a lot, and you can see these standing heavy punches can be charged. Another tell that what attacks can be charged is that you see this golden sparkle around Marisa's body as she's doing these attacks.
Right. The thing that's interesting about this attack is that it's an advancing heavy punch, which has some pretty impressive range, but it doesn't seem like it is unsafe at all, comparing it, for example, with Luke's standing heavy punch. However, we never see it being cancelled, so maybe that's the reason why it's safe. And the charge version appears to be even plus. Like, it definitely has the look of it, especially because we see that the other developer doesn't contest when it blocks one.
Yeah, like the Manon players gave him so much respect. Like, he's just throwing these out. It looks so scary. Now, right after the charge heavy punches, we see the Marisa player do a target combo. It looks like a light medium punch target combo, and it's cancelable at the end.
Right, this is very reminiscent of Gil's and Urian's standing light punch, medium punch target combo, which I think makes a lot of sense because they are technically supposed to share the fighting style, which is Pankration, Greek martial art. It makes sense that some moves, like we're gonna see that they're pretty similar. Like she has that step kick that is a special move that is very reminiscent of Urian and Gil as well. There's the similarities right there.
Yeah, that's a nice touch by Capcom. So right when Marisa cancels this target combo, you can see she's just about to attempt a Gladius special move, but the Manon player does a drive reversal and stops her.
Yeah, this probably means that the charged Gladius is somehow difficult to deal with on block. Maybe it has a lot of pushback or is completely safe. So it makes sense to do a drive reversal here, as Marisa would be unable to block, and it sends her closer to the corner where Manon would have an advantage as well.
Yeah, all these charge hard punches and then these charge moves being plus, it would really drain Manon's drive meter. So, a drive reversal makes sense here.
Yeah, it's basically an investment to get her out of that situation and not lose drive gauge to more block pressure, like you were saying.
Now, right after, we see Marisa use the OD version of Gladius. Once again, Gladius is her special move where she punches straight forward, and we see that sword effect. It clearly has armor, and interestingly, she uses this as an anti-air when Manon is jumping in.
It's interesting because it seems like the startup is relatively slow. So we are unsure if Marisa is actually charging this move to get the correct timing on the anti-air. But it doesn't get the follow-up, which the other versions of Gladius seem to get when they're charged. So it's interesting that the OD Gladius seems to have a different usage because of the armor.
Unfortunately, after the punish counter hits, Manon doesn't tumble, so you can't see any crazy conversions like a drive rush after into a sweep or something. So that's too bad.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, this next part is insane. So Marisa does a drive impact and it lands. And she seems to do this new command normal. I'm assuming it looks like a back heavy punch. But either way, it looks chargeable because you can see the glitter around it if you look at it slowly. And then this gives Marisa enough time to charge a Gladius. And the Gladius doesn't look like it's fully charged, but it's enough where Marisa will get that second canned hit that you were talking about.
Right, I'm curious if this is similar to how Luke does his charge moves, where there's multiple levels to the charge, especially in Street Fighter 6, where you have the perfect version. So maybe if you were to keep holding the button, it would have been too slow to actually combo. But if you release it just the right time, you still get the charge version, which would combo in this situation. And we see that it does a really big chunk of damage.
Oh man, it does so much. Look at the bar. This is completely meterless combo. Like, this is no meter at all. Like, this is much like a level 2 super. Like, Marisa is dishing out crazy damage in this game. Now, the cool part about this second canned hit on the Gladius is that after it hits the opponent, it causes a hard knockdown, so they can't back rise from this. So Marisa presses the advantage and she does drive rush and gets Oki, and she charges her standing heavy kick, and you can see that glitter effect again. And her standing heavy kick, even though the range doesn't look the best, it's cancelable, and she cancels it into her phalanx. This is her special move where she plummets downwards and punches them. And it looks like even the normal phalanx is plus on block.
Like you mentioned, the stunning heavy kick is being charged because we see the uncharged version a couple of times during the match, so you guys can compare. But yeah, this phalanx move might be kind of like our air stampede as it is for Alex. And maybe heavier versions could be plus or at least safe, like you were saying, because we see that the Manon player tries to back away and Marisa chases after with standing heavy punch.
Yeah, she does her standing heavy punch target combo, and there's a gap in between. And the second hit knocks down. And once again, this standing heavy punch looks really scary because it's forward moving like Luke, right? But if you charge it, it looks safe. And if you hit confirm it, you can land another converted, standing heavy punch. Really scary.
Right. I think it makes sense because we had theorized that this move is not cancelable, so the target combo is the way to land some extra damage here. It also makes sense for an on-block situation because the charged version is probably plus, but if the uncharged version is minus, the opponent would want to contest, so the target combo you can use to kind of like catch them, press a button, just like it happens here. We see that Manon gets counter hit and knocked down.
And we knew that Marisa was going to be a brawler character, but man, she's just so much relentless attacks. I figured she'd be like, playing neutral and then with punishing stuff. But Marisa just seems like such an offensive character in your face. And, the phalanx as well, being the normal version looking plus on blocks, it looks really unga. And like you said, it kind of reminds you of Alex's air stampede where he flies up in the air and kicks downwards and stomps on you.
Yeah, I would assume that in Street Fighter 6, because there are a bunch of options to deal with these kind of like more telegraphed moves, it's the kind of thing that you won't be using all the time, as it might lose to drive impact, or you could perfect parry it, for example. But if the opponent is scared to use it, or they're in burnout, then it becomes really scary because you can just abuse it.
Yes. All right, so after this, Marisa gets Manon into the corner, and there's been a lot of discussion about this move. So Marisa has this counter attack. We've talked about it many times before. It's called Scutum. And the official PlayStation blog explanation is Scutum is a defensive stance that gives Marisa upper body armor and counters an opponent's attack. And we see just that. Manon does a wake up button, and Marisa counters it with this move, the Scutum. She absorbs the hit, but after she absorbs the hit mirror, it looks like it's a canned attack where she does this body check. It's like a bonus hit, all right? Now, I just want to clarify that if Manon didn't do a wake up button, I think Marisa would have still did the grab, because we saw before in the first Marisa trailer that she's doing this stance, but she goes straight into the command grab anyway. So you don't have to get this counter or this body check afterwards to do the grab. It's just one of her follow-ups.
Right, so we have some extra information about this move because from the unofficial version of this video, there were commentators speaking in Japanese talking about this move, and they were saying how you can extend this armor that you get on the move by holding the buttons. So this makes me think that this move is something that already has canned follow-ups. So you do your input for the command throw or that overhead attack that we saw in the Capcom TV footage that we broke down some time ago, and you can manually extend for how long Marisa is gonna be holding her hands in front of her face if you want to go through an attack. And if you do successfully go through an attack, like you said, you get this body check which hits the opponent, does damage, and it probably means that you get just enough frame advantage that the opponent is forced to take the mix-up. They cannot contest the command throw by pressing an attack, for example. Maybe they don't have enough time to jump out of the overhead either, so it becomes a true mix-up.
Right, in the previous footage, we see Marisa's another one of her follows where she does like this overhead attack where she swings with both her arms. So we know there's multiple follow-ups to this Scutum counter. And from the audio leaks as well, Mir, there's hints that she has a low attack version as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if she has a low overhead and command grab follow-ups from this move.
Right, I think it would make a lot of sense, especially because the command throw would be for defeating an opponent who's blocking, and maybe the overhead and low attacks are particularly safe, so that that it's not a problem if the opponent is correctly defending against them, which could be pretty scary, especially combined with this extra parry frames that you have at the beginning of the attack. Well, another thing that we can see for the command throw, since we see it land a couple times during this match, is that it does quite a lot of damage.
Oh, dude, when I first saw this in the unofficial official version, me and my brother were like, "Whoa!" because like Manon just dies right after. It's so much. You might think that it was a punish counter command grab, but that's not the case. That was from the hit from before. But this move has so much utility, and it's another one of these Unga moves, Mir, because of the threat of the counter as well, that allows Marisa to kind of throw this out, and the opponent has to deal with this mix-up. But having a command grab on top of all of these charge attacks just completes Marisa's kit and just makes her very threatening, like a brawler character should be.
Yeah, I guess it's worth reminding everyone that we read in the blog that this attack only gives upper body armor. So it's a lot like Zangief's standing heavy punch in that sense from Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
You can still defeat Marisa by hitting her well low here.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so right at the start of the next round, I just want to talk about these standing heavy punches again, Mir, because we see Marisa do 2 fully charged ones, and you can just see how far they go, and they clearly look plus on block, because the Manon player is just not pressing anything.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting about how these moves work in Street Fighter 6 is that there's not really proximity blocking for normals. So you need to compensate by giving them a lot of range, because we see that Manon is trying to outrange them just by walking away.
Yeah.
Clearly that's what they did by giving that move such a long range that it's difficult to outrange just by, pulling back.
So Marisa gets bodied for a bit, so let's just skip to the next round. Where we see the full animation, actually, of Marisa's level 3 super. She does a reversal of it and lands it. And Miri, what do you think about this animation with where she appears from the smoke?
The Marisa jump scare, I like it.
It's kind of spooky.
I also like the wall that crumbles at the end.
Oh yeah, it's a really nice touch. I guess what we can say about this level 3 though is that they're in the corner on the left side. But after she lands it, they're basically in the corner on the right side. So this goes from corner to corner. It's like Necalli's V-Trigger Super. It just pushes them all the way to the end. So that's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen this before with other supers, cinematic supers, where they kind of like just put you on a very specific section of the screen. Sometimes it's mid-screen or sometimes it's the other corner, like you say.
Yeah.
This is good for Marisa because we see that she goes for Oki right after.
Yeah, she does. And there's a lot to talk about here. So she does a drive rush to get Oki. And then she goes light punch, medium punch, target combo. So we know this is cancelable, but she resets the situation because she's low on Manon's low on drive. She cancels into a drive impact, which stuns Manon. After the stun, Marisa does a standing heavy kick charged into the OD phalanx, and it looks like after the OD phalanx, she can juggle into that back heavy punch we saw at the very beginning of the match into a non-charged Gladius.
Right, we had seen a combo with this move before. I believe it was in the Twitter clip that they shown where she goes straight into her level 2.
Yeah,
but you can see how Manon wall splats low on the wall, so you need something that can pick her up almost off the ground. And this move that she uses just seems perfect for that. We also see that the Gladius is not charged this time, so it doesn't get the extra animation. I wonder if it is intentional that they didn't charge it because maybe it pushes Marisa away from the opponent and they wanted to maintain the advantage.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like the OD phalanx is a move you use a lot when you hit the opponent in the corner because of these juggle follow-ups. Like, I don't know if this will work mid-screen, for example.
Yeah, I think it's similar to some of those tumble knockdowns where you want to send them tumbling in the corner so that you can pick up a better combo.
It also goes without saying that if Marisa lands a stun on you, you're in serious trouble because a lot of her strong attacks require a charge or a wind up. So, after landing a DI, that charge standing heavy kick, I'm like, man, dude, like there's just so much damage on the table, whether you get hit by drive impact or by stun from Marisa. You don't want to give her an opportunity for a free hit. I mean, like, imagine if you whipped the DP on Marisa, there's just so much pain.
Again, it reminds me a little bit of Urian, where he has better options for combos by doing his charged standing heavy kick, for example, charged standing heavy punch instead of doing jumping attacks.
Yeah.
Because they are actually higher damage. So that's how you see Urian often start his stun combos. And in that case, Marisa seems to be just the same by doing charge attacks.
Yeah, good point. So after Manona's getting bodied by this giant combo, we see Marisa seal the deal with the Scutum again. So this time she does the Scutum, but there's no attacks, nothing to counter. So she just immediately goes into the command grab follow-up. And it actually looks quite fast when there's no counter.
Right. We kind of tried to count some of the frames. It seems that the parry has about 3 frames of startup and then a total of 10 frames before the command throw even starts, and then another 5 for the command throw. So a total of 15 frames, which makes it for, well, quite a slow command throw. But I guess you could compare it with something like G's V Trigger 2 command grab, which is armor on startup. Kind of like a very similar idea, especially because the damage is so high for both of them.
What was the frame data on G's normal command grab? What was the startup?
12 frames.
12? Yeah, so it's pretty close. I mean, once again, Marisa's not supposed to be a grappler, so just having access to this command grab after the opponent's conditioned from all these plus moves makes sense. And look at the damage, though. It does so much. It'd be ridiculous if it was faster, you know?
Especially if you're able to extend the parry frames by holding the attack, as we mentioned before. The startup is variable, right? So it could be even slower. And if Marisa just is dedicated to try and parry something and doesn't do anything, then you can get pretty much a free jump in.
So that does it for the match, Mirror. I guess I just want to say that I'm so surprised there's still moves we haven't seen yet from Marisa. Like, her kit already looks really, really scary. And the big thing from this is just how aggressive you can play her, you know, how Anga, because I would just imagine it was more like, you know, Birdie, where you're kind of just playing neutral and you're landing really far hits. But it seems like Marisa just abuses all of her plus charge moves and mounts a big offense, and then eventually finishes up with the command grab from the Scutum.
It's interesting because both of these characters want to play up close, right? Both of them have command throws, and in general, they're more like rushdown characters. So it's possible that this kind of matchup is very aggressive in general. And maybe Marisa will be forced to play more neutral against characters that are more dominant at a range, like with fireballs or strong pokes.
Yeah.
And so it might be why we haven't seen all of the moves, right? Just because it was more at this at 0 character distances range almost the entire time.
Yeah. One last thing I want to point out, Mir, is that all of the characters have descriptions on the difficulty of use for Street Fighter 6, and I've noticed that there is no character described as an easy difficulty. So I would imagine that Marisa's probably the first, like, easy character to use, so if someone would just want to throw out buttons, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely the kit seems pretty straightforward. And as far as we can tell, there's no complicated inputs, especially if our theory is true that there's a down-down input, which Capcom famously always associated with easy for beginners.
Yeah, I'm sure Alex players are just licking their lips looking at this character. Marisa looks so fun, man. But that pretty much wraps it up, guys. So remember, we're going to be covering every single character, and so expect the next breakdown soon, especially when Capcom releases more footage for us. So let us know what you guys think of this update to Marisa, and hopefully one day we'll get our hands on her and be finally able to play her. Super exciting. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.